Okay, so we're actually going to come to a comfortable seat to begin this practice today. This is a yin practice for the Svadhisthana chakra, the sacred abode. So find a comfortable position where your hips can be neutral, your pelvic bowl can be centered. You can sit up on a blanket, you can sit up on a prop, and you don't have to sit cross-legged. You can sit in whatever way allows the pelvis to feel neutral. And just take a moment and close the eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And then sigh out the mouth. And just do that a few times and just create a little rock, a little pulse. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out the mouth. And one more time, take a deep, deep breath in and out. And then just allow that gentle rock to move into a more circular shape. Your hands can rest on your thighs or at your shins. And I want you to close your eyes. And as we enter our yin practice, because we're moving into the water element, we want to enter through a little bit of movement. The gateway into the water element, the Svadhisthana chakra, is through the senses, through the emotions, through that water, that fluid body. And so as you just create a little bit of water-like movement, close your eyes. Let's just let the senses bring us here and now. So you can notice any sounds in the room. Notice
Hello.
smells. Hi, Jess. Notice any smells. So just allowing yourself, again, to just start to rock and circle in your comfortable seat. Again, entering the yin practice of the Svadhisthana chakra through just some gentle movement and the senses. So as you move through the sensory awareness, again, notice maybe the sensation on your skin, the temperature of the room. And let your eyes soften, let your eyes close. And I want to invite you to turn the vision sense inward, the inner vision. And so as we gather ourselves here through some gentle, watery movement, calling in sound and touch and smell and sight, go ahead and reverse the direction and start to feel into taste. So while all the senses are associated with the second chakra, the sacral chakra, that is the pelvis, the genitals, the reproductive organs, the sacrum, notice the mouth. So the sensation in the mouth, the taste on the tongue, maybe swallow, relax the jaw. And allow that sense of taste to begin to move your attention from the outer world into the body, to the hips, the pelvis. In Chinese medicine and yin, the water element lives in the kidneys, which rest in the low back area, just sort of below our lowest ribs. And so our sequence today will work with the hip postures connected to the Svadhisthana chakra. It will also pay homage to the water meridian, to the kidneys. Because when the second chakra is healthy, we are able to feel safe in our sensuality. We are able to trust our intuition. We are able to both feel and share our emotions. And we're able to experience an appropriate intimacy. Last week, we dove into the root chakra, our safety, our survival, our foundation. And if we're able to create that container, then we can move into that fluid awareness. The root chakra connects us to ancestry, planet, the physical world. And the second chakra brings us into the intimacy, the emotionality, the intuitive, creative world. Go ahead and bring yourself to center. And then with your hands, you can make an upside down triangle, touching the thumbs and the index finger pointing down, and then slide this mudra, this seal, to the low belly. And just again, feeling into this area. The element is water. The color is orange. And we're going to do a little bit of this sound. So the seed sound of the Svadhisthana chakra is VAM, V-A-M. And so we'll invoke this energy to guide us into our sequence. So you can listen, you can hum, or you can chant the sound VAM with me one time. Take a deep breath in. And then just pause for a moment. Take another breath. And then exhale it out. Go ahead and release your hands. Extend your legs for a moment. Give them a nice little shake. And we're going to start with a couple weight-bearing poses on the feet. So we're going to come to our feet. We're going to take a wide leg fold to start. So if you have a bed or a chair or any props, you're welcome to bring it. But take the legs as wide as you comfortably can. Point your toes forward. Soften your knees. And then your hands can come to your hips and you can begin to draw forward. You can always use a wall to press the sit bones into and kind of shift the hips back as you fold, or you can stack your forearms and forehead on a bed, a chair. You're welcome to allow gravity to draw you down, placing the hands between the legs or out in front. And we're going to take some breaths here. So you're welcome to just be in stillness. The wide leg position is going to open up the hips, the hamstrings, the calves, release the back leg. So there's that water flow through the legs and the spine. And you can stay very still, use a lot of support. But if the body is still warming up, you're welcome to play with a little bit of rocking. And what that looks like in this pose is bending one knee and extending the other leg. So again, we're not looking for a big, flow, yang type practice, but if you want to bring a little bit of movement, you can rock the hips or bend the knees, or just let yourself bow here over the legs. So relax the shoulders, relax the face, just creating this space through the back body, through the hips. So through this practice, you're welcome to meditate on the part of the body that we're focusing on. So that would be the sacrum, the hips, the pelvis, the kidneys, the genitals, the reproductive organs. You can focus on the color orange. You can even hear that sound of VAM as you breathe in and out. Or you can even breathe into visualizing your favorite water source. So if you have a relationship with a particular ocean, lake, stream, pond, you can visualize sort of breathing in and out of that area as though the whole practice is done floating or swimming through that water source. And of course, if you need to modify the poses, if you need to add more movement, please listen to that, because this chakra is about trusting our intuition. It's about trusting our emotions. And a lot of us learn at a very early age, and this chakra begins to develop in the first couple years of life. We develop a guilt about feeling, because we're often told, oh, don't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. It's not right to feel like that. And the truth is, our feelings are not facts, and our feelings are also not intended to be acted upon all of the time. And yet they are valuable resources for understanding our own process, for being with our own pulsation. And so the yoga of the second chakra is how to be with your feelings, honor your feelings, but know how to let them move through you, or if they need to move up into action. And the chakra for next week will be the action chakra. And so that's the relationship here. We establish a safe foundation so that we feel safe to feel. And the second chakra is the right to feel. Take another big breath in whatever version of this pose you're in. Open mouth, exhale, release. Shake out any tension. Release the head and neck. Soften the jaw. And then slowly, you can start to heel toe the feet together. We're moving into malasana. So malasana can be done by having the feet about as wide as the mat. And then depending on your knees today, you might just sink your hips down. I'm going to give you a couple of variations. Another option is to do this up against the wall or the bed, bringing the sacrum directly into that support. Or what most of us do as our bodies start to change is sit up on a block. So you can put a block under your sit bones, bring your arms inside your legs. And you can also just sit on the floor with the knees bent and your arms here. So that's a beautiful option too. We are here for several breaths. So allow yourself to settle into your malasana, lifting up through the chest. And for a few breaths though, I want you to place your hands down and think about a little bit of like a cat pose. So you can tuck the chin, kind of roll. And what this does is help us to access the kidney meridian as we open up the back body and the hips. So just as long as the arms are still kind of inside the legs, you can add a little rock, a little shift, soften your jaw. At any point, you are welcome to bring your hands back up if that's comfortable. Or again, you can put pillows or blankets under the fingertips. And breathe here. So several breaths, filling up the back of the body. So the kidneys are fist size, kind of right here underneath the back rib. And the adrenals live on top of them. So we talked last week about the root chakra being connected to the adrenals. And while the second chakra is associated with the testes or the ovaries in the glandular system and the endocrine system, they're also associated with the kidneys and the organ body. And so the kidneys connect us to either fear or faith. They're connected to gentleness and flow. And so again, in Chinese medicine, we feel the water element through the kidneys. And so I do feel like when we work with Svadhisthana chakra, when we work with the chakra system, it is very compatible to bring in some of the meridian, because the kidneys do nourish, right? They support the adrenals, which again is that first, second chakra connection. So just continue to breathe into the back body, breathe into your hips, into your pelvis. This is an excellent pose for pregnancy, as long as you feel supported and the knees are not straining. And feel, so this kind of builds on that root chakra. These first couple poses are very good for the legs too. Opening the hips, softening the jaw. And again, adjust, modify in any way if you need to. Can you take some slow oceanic breaths into the back body? So imagine inhaling up the back body to the crown, exhaling down the front body. So the breath moving in waves. Deep, deep breath in. Exhale it out. And go ahead and carefully bring yourself down to your bottom. And this time with the soles of the feet together. So I would recommend sitting up on a blanket, and you can always put support under your thighs too. So if you have blocks, you might put them underneath the thighs. And start by sitting. Again, sitting up nice and tall, maybe a little rock, maybe a little pulse, and then progressively we'll start to fold into butterfly, into bound angle. Try to keep the feet pressing together, but any movement that wants to come out of this, you're welcome to circle or do cat-cows. Again, we're going to be here for several breaths, because with the water as well, right, there's that fluidity. We want water to move. We don't want water to be stagnant or to spill. But at the same time, water has depth. I mean, there are ocean depths that we haven't even begun to drop into as humans. You know, we can't even access certain parts of the oceans. And so being in the Svadhisthana chakra again is that pulse between flow and gentleness, and then also that really deep sort of unconscious emotional place. And so as we start to move through the next series of poses, which will be more focused in the hips, this still is getting into the kidneys, right? We've still got that kidney region open. So I want you to keep that awareness of the kidneys, breathing through the back body as well. But just letting yourself start to draw into the hips. But at any point, you can add a little bit of movement, a little bit of rocking, adjust, and any support. So you can always take bolsters or blankets and place it out in front of you for the forearms or the forehead. If you have a chair nearby, once again, you can kind of stack the forearms. And just let yourself really breathe, slow and deep. You can stay with the color orange. Inhaling, exhaling, Vam. Or some mantras or more affirmation type statements, right, for the second chakra are, I trust my feelings. I trust my intuition. I feel my feelings. I flow. I trust the flow of my intuition. I am healed. I am whole. I am valuable. Those are all mantras that might resonate as we connect to the seed of the Svadhisthana chakra. And sort of my little phrase for the work that we're doing this week in this chakra is, restoring the sacred of the sacral chakra. And that's what Svadhisthana means. It means the sacred abode. And again, to really be allowed to own your sensuality, your sexuality, your emotions, your intuition, your creativity, to really be able to be vulnerable and intimate with another person. These are some of the huge gifts of being human. And for a lot of us, it can be very challenging to experience these qualities. We're not taught it. And for many of us, the early years of our lives just weren't set up for the healthy development of this chakra. And so gentleness, right? The kidneys bringing us into that gentleness and trust as we just start to peel back and go into those deeper waters, kind of like how in a pool, you start out like a foot and you walk out, the ocean, you walk out, you slowly go deeper into these poses. There's no rush to get to the deepest point. Let yourself slowly immerse in each breath, backing out if you need to, bringing in props. Again, remembering that we want to maintain the root. The chakras are a system, so we carry the earth with us into water. So like if you're preparing a garden, first you make sure the soil, right? You make sure you've got your garden area or your, whatever container, you put your earth in it, and then, we make sure the water, you put the seed in and you put the water in next. It's all part of tending our bodies, our minds, our souls. Deep, deep breath in. And let it go. Gently walk yourself up. So we're going to bring the legs into deer legs. And some of you know this because we do the legs in this shape for a twist, but we're not doing that. It's just the setup. So the right shin can come forward. And you're going to place the left thigh. So the right foot is pressing into the left thigh with the right shin forward. So the left heel is hugging in. So your legs kind of look like a figure 4, but you're sitting on your butt. So the right hip is down. The left hip might be a little bit lifted, but you want the right hip down. So lengthen the spine, right shin is forward. Take a deep breath. And then as you exhale, start to walk forward. So a lot of times in restorative, we twist over the right thigh We're going towards the right shin, okay? So you can place your forearms down, and you're gonna start to feel some sensation in the right hip, the outer right hip. So you can always put a blanket underneath you. You can bring your props out in front of you. Forearms down. And again, you can add a little bit of movement. You can breathe here. Anything that feels good. So this is our deer pose. And I love deer pose with the kidneys because of the gentleness of the deer. And so if your hips are really open, this might feel really mild, and that's okay. But just try to keep creating, try to keep squaring your hips if you can, drawing the hips back, softening the jaw. And again, creating any sort of mobility, breathing. So kidney awareness as we come into the hips. Soften the face. Let the breath flow like waves. Let the head and neck go. So sometimes in these kind of positions, I like to put my forehead on some kind of support. And then I can just focus on breathing, turn the palms up, create a sense of surrender. And breathing up the back body and down the front body. Moving in any way that you need to. Take a few more breaths. Notice if there's tension in your face or in your jaw. So we talked about, right, like taste being the sense of the second chakra, and there is a connection between the joint in the jaw and the joint in the hips. So they lock up, right? So if you start to open the hips, the jaw locks up, kind of like protective. Because again, this is where our creativity comes in, whether that's the biology of making a baby or the biology of just creating ideas, creating possibilities, businesses, books, songs, and then it makes its way up and out through the fifth chakra, and we'll talk about that in a few weeks. But so we want to relax the mouth, relax the tongue, again, feeling into any of the senses, but especially the sense of taste. Take another breath in and sigh it out. Roll yourself up. And then for a moment before the other side, we're going to open the legs wide again, this time from our seat. So if you want to move something under the sit bones, you can do that. And you want the legs to just be as wide as is comfortable. You can always sit up against the wall. The knees can be bent. And the feet don't need to be hard flexed, but the toes are facing up. And you can just place the hands to the insides of the legs and walk forward. You can use props. If you felt like you need a little movement, this is a nice place for just kind of rolling in and out of the side body a little bit. So we are here again, several breaths. So you're welcome to add a little bit of side body awareness. Again, another pose really good for the kidneys as well as the hips. And then if and when you're ready, you can just fold forward using any support you want. Softening the jaw, relaxing the face. And we don't ever want to overstretch the ligaments, the joints, the hips. The hips are an area that will just keep opening. And so we don't want to use a lot of force. So just that same way with the water element, we want to kind of be invited into the deeper waters, right? If you go too quickly into the deeper waters, right, we can kind of get overtaken. And I know I've had, one too many memories as a child of, going too far out into the waves and getting sucked under. And boy, is that an interesting feeling, right? When the wave catches you and you're under the water and you can't get out, and you feel like you can't breathe. That sense of drowning is a real thing. And our emotions do that to us as well. How often are we drowning in our emotions, our feelings? And a lot of people today, people told me, they were like, I can't come to class today, I'm too amped up, just because of the changes occurring in the country right now. And again, in some ways, that's exactly when we need to practice. That's exactly when we need to turn into our emotions and let them move through us, because trauma is just, it's emotions that aren't processed in the moment. Happy feelings, negative feelings. Stress is the same way. The body can't differentiate between good stress and bad stress. Stress is stress. So we allow the kidneys to soften and settle. We allow the hips to relax. We deepen our breath. We invoke the fluid nature to just help us to move this through our system, whatever it is, because this too shall pass. Our most joyful emotion, our most fearful emotion, they all pass, right? Emotion is energy in motion. Take another breath. Sigh it out. See if you can let go a little bit more. And then we'll bring it up. Take your time. You can draw the knees in, or if there's anything the body needs. And we're going to move to the left side of our deer pose. So that left shin can come forward, or however you want to orient that. And so we've got the left foot resting on the right thigh with the right heel in. Left shin is facing forward. Left sit bone is down. The right might be lifted, but we want to feel as square as possible. And then begin to come forward. So my left hip is way tighter. You can probably see that. So I have to just be a little bit more mindful. Yeah, when I walk forward. So it's very easy when I walk forward to get kind of tilted. So just pressing the hips back, staying with the breath. I'm using some support under my forearms. And we're here several breaths. So breathing up the back body and down the front body. Softening the jaw, the mouth, the eyes. Dropping into the Sacral Chakra, the Sacral Chakra. Letting go a little bit more with each breath. And again, you can just imagine that you're being supported by your favorite waters. And that can be your shower. Like maybe you have a really great shower. And like those are the waters that you feel safest in, or a hot tub or a bathtub, or maybe you went on vacation one time and they have this really incredible pool. So it doesn't have to be. Some people don't feel safe at the ocean. The ocean can be pretty intense, or in a lake or a stream, right? So like part of healing ourselves, and healing is an interesting word. It's an abstract word. When I use healing, it's not necessarily associated with a cure. Healing is about evolving our relationship with a wound. So every time we evolve our relationship with a wound, like we connect to healing. And some wounds are intended to be with us and be part of our story and our humanness, right? Like healing doesn't mean something is gone, done, over. Sometimes, like I said, healing is a lifetime journey with a lot of different experiences, but we get to continue to evolve with it. So, water, connecting to a healing water source, what about this element can make you feel like you can let go and trust and feel into your senses and your intuition. One of my teachers says, if you can feel it, you can heal it. And I think I've said that in classes before. And again, that's very much about having a personal relationship with your emotions and your healing process. So if you can feel it, your body is inviting you to process. It's inviting you to that deeper level of having a healing relationship. So the water element is where we let ourselves feel, right? We let ourselves feel and we let it go. We don't need to get attached to the story or judgment. So sometimes people will come to yoga and the first time they do a hip opener, they start to cry or they get angry. And then afterwards, someone's like, I don't know what happened in that pose, but that's because this is the seat of our emotional intelligence and well-being. So feeling, healing, all associated with the water element. But again, we each get to define that relationship. And that will change over time. My relationship with my feelings continually changes. Last couple breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Walk it up. Swing your legs around. Give them a nice little shake. Let the hip flexors open. We're going to do another asymmetrical hip opener. And I'm going to offer either single pigeon or sleeping pigeon. So most of you know your bodies and your practices. If sleeping pigeon or in Yin, they call it swan. So swan or pigeon, either sleeping or single leg. So if you want to do the reclining one, you would lie on your back and we'll cross the right ankle over the left thigh. And then the left foot can stay on the floor or on a block. You can rock it or you can hug it in. Okay? So that's a great one. Brings you close to the earth. It's very gentle on the knees. Single-legged pigeon, you can come from all fours or perhaps a down dog. We draw the right shin forward again, but now the back knee is down with the hips square. So it's kind of evolving that deer shape. Squaring the hips, you might put some support under your back knee or underneath your right hip. And then lengthen your spine, point the back toes back. And you can stay upright and move. You can put a pillow under your hands or forearms, or you can come down. So single-legged pigeon tends to be more intense than sleeping pigeon, but it also can create some tension in the knee. So if you're feeling any pulling in the knee, please come onto your back and just let yourself rock and breathe. And again, you can lower down, and we're here several breaths. So keeping the kidney area open, breathing into the hips, softening the jaw. Relax the shoulders and the face. And just really think about breathing back into the kidneys as you sink into the hips. Just floating on those waters, inviting whatever needs to be felt. And again, for some people, the energy of today, right? People have been kind of holding their breath for a while. And so maybe today you can exhale one way or the other. And again, our feelings are our own, right? Like, I have my son, I'm constantly trying to talk to him about this, where it's like, it's fine. Like, you can be mad, you can be sad, you can be upset, you can be happy. Like, your feelings are yours and they are important, but it's not okay to take it out on someone else. So if it's okay if he's mad, but if that mad, then he throws something at me, right? Like, then there's a consequence because he threw something at me. So it's like that's such a human nature to react to our emotions, and happiness too. We're happy, so we want to go hug somebody, right? Or we want to go do something. And that's the third chakra. The third chakra is action. But first we need to know how to just be with our feelings ourselves and process whether it's enough to just feel the feeling or if it needs an action associated with it, right? So that's a big deal with this energy center. It's like your feelings are valid, your feelings are legitimate, your feelings are important, but they do not always need to be shared and they do not always need to be acted on. And in one of the recovery modalities I work in, we talk about the feelings as not being facts, because when we feel a way, we're like, I'm going to feel this way forever, right? Or if we feel good, we want to hold on to that forever. And so just like, no, this is right now, I'm feeling this way, and I can enjoy it. I can be curious about it. I can decide if there's an action associated with it. But we first just want to surf it. We first just want to go with those waves, be in that emotionality, be with that intuition, be with your sensuality, right? And sensuality is not necessarily sexual. It's your senses. It's, again, moving from taste and smell and sight and touch, feeling into your body in that way. A few more good breaths, wherever you are. The breath, that's another really good tool for feelings. I've been doing that a lot with my son lately, where I'm like, breathe into your belly, breathe into your belly. You know, because it's so natural. We take it up, we hyperventilate with it, we stop the breath. Let that move through you, breathe it through you. Sometimes it just needs a moment. You need that moment of grief or sadness or fear or guilt or shame, any of the shadow qualities of the chakras. And again, the second chakra is often associated with guilt as the shadow, guilt for feeling the way we do or for not feeling a certain way. Take another big breath. Let it go. And then make your way out. We're going to transition to side 2. Depending on what side you're on or how you're doing it, you might transition differently. If you're in single-legged pigeon, you could go to down dog or child's pose. If you're in sleeping pigeon, you could hug the knees in. Just give yourself a little bit of space, you know, move a little bit, breathe a little bit, let that go through you, let that flow through you. And then if and when, well, I don't want to say if, I do want you to do a hip opener on the left side. But this side might be different. So maybe this is your more open side or your more tender side. So maybe you're doing sleeping pigeon on this one, maybe you're doing single pigeon on this one. So again, having a bolster or blanket or pillow underneath the left hip or underneath the back knee, having something to lower the forearms to. And just letting yourself be here. So you probably already felt that in deer pose, right? That one side is tighter than the other. And so if that is what's happening here, then be gentle. Breathe into it. Feel what needs to be felt so that you can let it go. Soften your jaw, soften your face. And sometimes it's nice when we do a hip practice in yoga, we have that good cry. And we don't even know why. And we don't have to. That's the other thing about, that's so mysterious about how we hold trauma in the body, is that sometimes that trauma will just release. We'll do a pose or have an experience, and suddenly those floodgates open and the body releases it, you know, and we can't force that to happen. So getting that idea of trying to force the water element completely out, right? There's no forcing the water element. We see that when we try to dam water up and then it breaks through, right? Water can be so gentle and sweet, and yet it can also be so powerful. And so what are your waters like here in this pose? Staying aware of the kidneys, the outer left hip, the pelvic floor. Relax your tongue, your jaw. What needs to be felt here? Is this a raging river or a trickle of a stream? Again, building on the root chakra, right? We all know what happens when we have like desert, parched earth, right? And then the skies open. But also too much water, right? With the earth, that creates mudslides. That's not good either. So it's a balance. We want to have healthy earth to hold healthy waters. And in yoga, healthy is sattvic, sattva. Sattva is the just enough. It's just right. What is healthy for now? What is appropriate for now? Stay with your breath. And that may vary from side to side. The water available on this side may be different. Deep breath in. Open mouth. Exhale everything out. See if you can settle just a little more. And then slowly, slowly make your way up. So just move with your body, move with the breath, do any movement that feels good. And so I'm going to reveal sort of my plan for the last part of class, and then you can trust your intuition. My plan was to do frog and then end in Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, instead of frog, you could do happy baby, and I will talk you through those. Or you could just be like, I want 15 minutes of Supta Baddha Konasana. So frog is one of our more intense hip openers. So you can go, if you're already on the back, you can stay on the back and draw the thighs in, and you can hold your hamstrings or hold your feet, and this is happy baby. Sometimes it's nice to do that with a blanket or block under your sacrum so that you can really press the tailbone down. So you can do that, and then you might, you know, when you get enough of that, you could come into Supta Baddha Konasana, our reclining butterfly. If you'd like to do frog, so I really like to do frog on a blanket or something that's going to stop the knees from pushing out. So I will take my yoga blanket or a towel and open it up nice and wide. And then the knees will be as wide as you can have them. So think even wider than child's pose, although child's pose is sometimes a nice pose to do when this gets to be too much. So knees wide. And then turn your feet so the big toe side of the foot is down, so it looks like frog legs. And then we start to bring the hips straight back. So like how in deer, we brought the hips straight back. So we're not sticking the butt up and we're not tucking the pelvis under. We're drawing the hips straight back. And then you can lower to the forearms. And I'll turn to the side. So you can put a bolster or a support underneath your pelvis. And you can have support underneath, again, the knees for sure. If this gets to be too much, you can bring the big toes together and push back to child's pose, which while child's pose is great for the kidneys. And I'll show frog from here too. So the knees are super wide. Feet are flexed, so not overly flexed. And then you draw the hips straight back. And right here, I actually kind of have my bed I can rest my head on, so that's nice. But so this feels, you know, pretty intense in both hips at the same time. So if you start to feel any sharp or shooting or sort of burning sensation, you want to come out, especially if it's in the knees. So you can always come to child's pose and just be in child's pose. Or again, you can go into your Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're going to be here for a couple of minutes in either frog or happy baby. But just know that's where we're going next. That's where we're going to finish the practice, is in reclining butterfly. Which, if you're not familiar with that, that's where we usually lay over pillows. And then we bring the soles of the feet together one more time with pillows or blankets under the thighs. And it's a restorative pose. It doesn't have to be restorative. You can certainly just do that lying on the mat. But so again, not to give you too much information. I don't want you to think about it too much. I just want to let you know that's the flow of the practice, and to listen to the body as you go into these shapes. So you're just like, listen to your intuition. Your body's like, no, I just want that nice long Supta Baddha Konasana. Or your body's like, no, I want some frog. Or again, maybe it's child's pose, maybe it's happy baby, maybe it's something else. Do something else the next couple of minutes. But just really getting a little deeper into your hips, your pelvis. Again, this keeps that orientation to the kidney meridian. So keep sort of fluffing up, breathing into the back body, wherever you are. Just let yourself settle into the breath, settle into the body. Any little wiggles or shifts or movement are always appropriate. Soften your jaw. And just let yourself stay with this for another minute, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Inhaling up the back body, exhaling down the front body. Soften your jaw, soften your face. Giving yourself permission to feel whatever you need to feel. Feeling the water. Waters of your body, of your breath, of your emotions. Deep, deep breath into the back body. Open mouth, let it go. Slowly, if you are in frog, shift forward to draw the feet in, coming into child's pose. If you're on your back, hug your knees in, gentle rock. And take all the time you need. We'll finish in our Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you have a bolster, if you have a couple pillows, you can turn lengthwise, sit your butt down and lie back over it. Soles of the feet together. Please put support under your thighs. Make sure the head and neck are supported as well. You can cover your eyes. You can rest your hands on your belly or on the earth. So try to create like a 45-degree angle with the spine, maybe a little bit lower, but your butt is down, but your spine is kind of coming up and over like cushions or pillows. And again, soles of the feet together. Relax the shoulders, soften the jaw, get as cozy and comfy as you possibly can. And this is definitely a shape where we can feel like we're floating. Maybe floating on soft ocean waves, in a pool, in a lake, in a stream. Maybe you're nestled into the womb of the great mother herself. And maybe you're just floating in a really spacious bathtub. Before the pandemic, I've been really wanting to go to one of those float places where you go to like the deprivation tank, right? And you're like floating in the big saltwater tub in the dark. That sounded really cool to me. And so it could be like that. But there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. Let go into the support of the earth and the flow of the waters. You can trust your intuition. You can trust your feelings, your sensuality, your sexuality, your creativity, your intimacy, your worth. And as you rest here, again, maybe just feeling that water cleanse you and hold you, dissolving anything that doesn't belong, that doesn't serve, anything that has been stagnant and damming up the flow of this part of your body. Any blockage to your creativity or fertility. And you just let yourself receive healing waters. Maybe there's an orange tint, that bright, rich, juicy orange. Maybe there's the hum of the vom. There's no right or wrong. There's no perfect here. It's just letting go. Letting go into the waters. Letting go into the flow. Letting everything else go. Feel into the flow of the breath, the rise and fall of the low belly, the kidneys. Soften a little bit more. And then if you'd like to, you can start to call back the breath. Bring in some movement, wiggling and stretching. And if you would like to, you can make your way up to sit. Again, maybe just finding a little bit of a rock, a little bit of a pulse. You can take that upside down triangle shape with your hands and slide it at the low belly. Take a big breath into the kidneys, into the low belly. Fill all the way up. Open mouth. Let it go. And if you'd like to, we'll tone the sound of Vam, or just listen or hum. Take a deep breath in. Om Svadhisthana Swaha. We bow, we surrender to the sacred abode. Thank you for practicing. Namaste.